Ghost of Tsushima has been out for a while, having come out on the PlayStation platform on July 17, 2020. The director's cut, the version we are seeing here, came out on July 2021, which introduced players to Iki Island, and the PS5 specific enhancements brought 3D audio, dynamic 4K at 60 FPS, and full DualSense support. The way Sony handled the upgrade path of Ghost of Tsushima was indeed a bit of a mess, but today we are going to be looking at why this title, particularly the director's cut, might just be the best cross-generational PlayStation game to have ever been released for the PS4 and PS5. With the PS5, there were indeed a lot of cross-generational releases. However, Ghost of Tsushima finds itself in a very unique position where it came out very late into the PS4 lifecycle, even way past the PS4 Pro release. So, developer Sucker Punch had enough platform familiarity to put out a highly refined game. And when I say refined, I mean edge of a samurai sword refined. I'm particularly referring to how much they were able to pull off in terms of graphical fidelity, textures, and visual elements that immediately hooked players when they laid eyes on them. Best part is, they made the experience consistent all the way from the PS5 to the base PS4. But it has been quite a while, and most of us know what the game looks like at this point. It runs at a checkerboard 1800p on the PS4 Pro at 30 FPS, a solid 1080p 30 FPS even on the base PS4, while on the PS5, that is bumped up to a full 2160p in resolution mode, mostly holding steady at 60 FPS. Basically, if you are on the PS4 Pro or the PS5, just play this game on resolution mode cause you lose very little compared to dropping it down to frame rate mode. And that is how refined of a game release this is. But the refinement does not stop there. Ghost of Tsushima has a very focused narrative which follows our protagonist Jin Sakai as he and his allies fight against the Mongol invasion of Tsushima Island. And if this island falls, the rest of Japan was slated to follow. All this set in a feudal era of Japan where we see lots of themes of honor, pride, moral dilemmas, forging of friendships, and betrayals of trust. We follow Jin as he barely escapes with his life after a brutal initial onslaught of the Mongols headed by Khotun Khan. The three acts of the game comprise of his attempt to stop the Mongol invasion of the mainland while uniting his own people behind him. The Iki Island expansion is a story which unlocks after you reach Act 2 of the main story, but I would recommend that you play that arc a bit later because the challenges of Iki Island are indeed a tad bit tougher than even the main story challenges of the main game. So get used to eliminating normal Mongols first before you run into Mongols enhanced by the chants of dark shamans and empowered by seemingly dangerous magical powers from a witch. Last but not least, the Legends mode is solo and co-op multiplayer, which is essentially you slashing your way through zombies. There's a lot of lore that keeps you pulling into this one, and there are a few new battle mechanics and animations not in the main game here too. Worth checking out for sure. From the very beginning, Ghost of Tsushima puts you in feudal Japan with an immediate rush of lush landscapes, a prologue which establishes the rigid rules of the samurai, and a serenading soundtrack to underline all of this thanks to the masterful composition of Shigeru Umebayashi. I have played a lot of open world games, some just a map of vast emptiness, some littered with side quests that are just time sinks, and some with even main quests so boring that the game just felt like a bloated mess. Thankfully, Ghost of Tsushima is none of those things. Just like the staunch discipline of the samurai throughout the game, it's almost as if the developers were possessed with the same ideology in their game design, as the title really respects your time. There isn't one moment where I felt, well, they could have done away with that. Every fight, big and small, every cutscene, the judiciously used dialogue, the well-interspaced map, which offers an appropriate challenge without being overwhelming, is like just the right amount of sake before raging into battle the next day. For me, it all began to come together about an hour into the game, when I started to get a grasp of the battle mechanics. To put it plainly, there are two ways that you can go about it. The honorable, straightforward samurai way, where you hone and boost the skills of the samurai, meeting enemies head-on and facing them in standoffs, relying on parries and blocks, and using the extremities of your skill to overcome your adversaries in battle. Or you can go the route of the ghost. Poison darts, smoke bombs, assassinations, stealth and chaos tactics which confuse, mislead, and decimate the enemy even before they realize that the ghost unseen has struck them down. No fight, no mercy, no rules, just victory. Completing the main missions called Jin's Journey, while the smaller quests and the Iki Island expansion come under the Tales category, each give you, upon successful completion, skill points as your legend grows. These skill points you can put towards abilities of the ghost, like throwing kunai, using smoke bombs to misdirect enemies, or pyrotechniques like, say, a sticky bomb, which literally sticks to your enemies and detonates. Or these skill points can be spent towards stances and samurai skills. Stances are like the way of combat approach you take towards different enemy types. While not compulsory to switch between, it will certainly help to make combat a lot more easier by, say, helping you overcome brutes with a moon stance and swordsmen with a stone stance if you could just spend a little bit time to swap between them. Then comes the melee combat. There are parries, blocks, counter and special parry counters that you can use against your enemies. These can be enhanced by adding skill points to the samurai skill trees of deflection and evasion. There are even some legendary combat arts for samurai under the mythic category, which, in typical samurai fashion, you can only unlock by helping people via specific side quests. While the combat system might seem overwhelming at first, about 2 to 3 hours into the game, the controls become second nature and it felt so natural to me. The samurai always felt that the sword should feel like an extension of the arm, and this combat system nails that principle by making your controller feel the same way. Given enough time, players will eventually find themselves worried more about their way of approach rather than which button to press. The button controls are highly responsive, both in and out of combat. Very sharp, like cutting a bamboo with a 7-button combo sharp. But what sets this combat system apart from others is the fact that it allows the player freedom to express himself within the choices that he makes for combat. You can dispose of your enemies with honor, challenging them to a standoff or taking them on one by one as they circle you in hordes. You can leave emotion behind, like the sword leaving its sheath when it enters battle. Or you can let vengeance loose, channeling the anger of loss and the cruelties committed by these invaders by resorting to more brutal tactics like turning them against one another by using a confusion toxin or poisoning them to drown in their own blood, slitting their throats from behind and disappearing into the void. You decide what path to take. But in both styles, the combat is stellar and the control layout is elegant to say the least. Ghost of Tsushima has a multitude of enemy types, but in my opinion, this is where the game falls a bit short. It has Mongolian archers, swordsmen, shieldsmen, brutes, sappers or bomb throwers, eagle bearers, and spearmen. The Mongol leaders and generals are a tad bit harder to defeat, but do share a lot of common traits with the other enemy types, and this is where the stances come in. The different enemy types have their own specific weaknesses to specific stances, so if you swap stances in battle according to your enemy type, it will make combat more manageable. The 4 main stances are Moon Stance, useful for larger brutes, Stone Stance for swordsmen, Water Stance for shieldsmen, and Wind Stance effective against spearmen. Like other open world games, yes, Ghost of Tsushima does have a fast travel option on the map, but question is, would you want to? I didn't, and here's why. Beautiful world design and elements, tight controls, meaningful main quests and side quests with an abundance of choices for the player to express himself within the game, whether as a vengeful ghost or a blade to the chest samurai. Ghost of Tsushima, interwoven with rich Japanese cultural elements from the feudal era of Japan, is not the best combat in a game, nor the best storyline, not even the best graphics. We have seen better in truly next-gen games. But what it is a game much bigger and greater than the sum of its parts, and it sometimes leaves me wondering, is this really a PS4 era game? Sucker Punch really squeezed everything that they can out of this one. Furthermore, just like the layers of subliminal meanings in haikus you compose in-game, Ghost of Tsushima somehow brings together elements of gameplay, aesthetics, music, player choice, and narrative and amazing combat to make you feel not like you're just playing the character of Jin Sakai, but you are him, be it whether you're a ghost or samurai. And that's it. Those are my thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut. Does this game appeal to you? Which path do you see yourself taking, samurai or ghost? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. For more videos like this one, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon for more amazing gaming content coming your way.
This is Gaming Bharathi. Arigato gozaimashita.
And I will see you in the next one.